What happened to the local driver accused of hitting two road workers overnight and then crashing his car? What makes the local APL's mission so vital for area animals and families? The animal that boasts more farms in Ohio than any other state. And why one Sesame Street character is apparently a big Browns fan. Good evening, everybody. On this Thursday night, here's how we begin. 3 are in critical condition after a hit and run overnight in the Heights. A reversal of fortune that will make Special Olympics fans smile. And a surprise guest on Capitol Hill. Chris Ty has all of that in tonight's 77 Seconds at 7.
We start in the Heights. 2 road workers on an overnight job in University Heights in critical condition tonight after the driver of this car slammed into them, then drove off. Happened just after 3 a.m. This is Cedar and Green. The driver later crashed his car into a pole on the grounds of Gilmore School. He's not been charged. He's also in serious condition. Icelandic budget airline WOW Air is ending its operations, leaving passengers stranded on both sides of the Atlantic. In a statement, the airline told customers to book new flights, saying only some would be eligible for compensation. Several European airlines are offering reduced fares to affected travelers. Tonight, President Trump calling on the FBI and the Department of Justice to intervene in the Jussie Smollett case. Last night, the president called the case an embarrassment. Earlier this week, prosecutors abruptly dropped 16 felony counts against the former Empire actor in exchange for a fine and community service. Also today, President Trump, after days of pressure, says he's backing off his budget request of cutting funding to the Special Olympics. And if you're not a C-SPAN junkie, you may have missed it. Typically, we don't cover the Interior Secretary nominee, David Bernhardt, here at 7, but it's the audience behind him that made this worth a watch. We'll wrap up tonight's segment with the arrival of this amphibious character.
Just a very normal congressional hearing, and a woman ducks her head down and then comes up looking like a sea monster.
On C-SPAN.
Yes.
I mean, C-SPAN, that is.
Really nails it.
You know, I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
on Brown's road trips where the flight is long and you get in the room, I'm going to admit this, I turn on C-SPAN to nod off.
Do you really?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I just find it to be a nice hum.
The soothing sound of
Especially
Washington.
when they do the book reviews. I really enjoy that the most.
See, it's these trails from the road that we appreciate the most, Jimmy.
Anything else?
The one thing, you must wonder why the president decided to climb the mountain of Special Olympics funding removal, only to come back to it. Perhaps the pushback was just so white hot, but he put out his education secretary, Betsy DeVos, and now they have to walk it all back. It's weird. It's strange policy.
That was shocking when that news came through. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, all day long, we have been looking for your help to keep the work of our local APL going strong. It's our annual Forget Me Not Telethon. Joe Cronauer joins us right now, live from the Cleveland APL. Joe, I have been watching all day long. You have done an amazing job. The message is crystal clear that everybody needs to know, and you have been sending it out there. The APL needs to be funded by us. They do not get funded by anybody. They require donations. And I know you have a great story again for us tonight.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's so true. Yeah, without our viewers and without you watching right now, the APL would not function. There's no way. So, and wonderful people like the Kavich Law Firm. Michael Cohan joins us here. Michael, presenting a check for $1,500. These are the kind of people, and this is the kind of business that is standing behind the APL Forget Me Not Telethon. Thank you so much.
We're happy to support the APL, and thanks to all the Channel 3 viewers for all the donations.
Yeah, really. And you know what? Keep it coming, because right now we've got donation matches happening, which means, well, Sharon, you can explain that.
That's right. Carol Weinberg of NCA Financial Planners is matching up to $5,000. So if you call in now, you'll double your donation up to $5,000.
You give $100, it'll be doubled to $2,000. You give $1,000, it's $2,000. And why is all this happening? Because of unfortunate things like this, where abuse is obviously happening here. This dog was scalded. This is Phoenix, scalded over 50% of his body, and because 3 weeks ago, you can't even imagine in what bad shape it was in. It's actually getting better, and she's getting better because of your donation. So please, time is running out. We really need you to call now. You get a matching donation, 866-392-PETS. Jimmy, it's just so important. And thanks so much for watching all day. I know you're a pet lover yourself.
I am.
Just got a big heart, man.
I am. I got to tell you, Joe, you've done a great job. Keep those phones ringing, everybody. Thanks, Joe.
Amen. Thank you.
Well, we are in the home stretch. Crunch time now for getting your tax returns filed is nearing. So now you're in one of two boats. You haven't filed, that's where I am, or you probably have your returns back by now. So whether you haven't filed yet or have some extra cash in your bank account, here's NBC's Chris Clackham with some things to keep in mind.
If you're still waiting for that tax refund check, you're still probably vulnerable to tax scam artists who always start their dirty deeds by phone.
Well, the first thing you need to remember is that the Internal Revenue Service always sends you a letter first.
If you've already received your refund, consider yourself fortunate, because in spite of all the complaints about smaller refund checks this year, it's still a substantial chunk of money at one time.
Right now, averaging $3,000 according to the IRS.
A chunk Today Show financial editor Gene Chatsky says should be set aside to improve your personal financial situation.
That's an opportunity to create the emergency savings account that very few people have.
She says putting much of it in just a high-interest savings account protects against future debt.
If you have an emergency, if you have a leaky roof, if you have a medical bill, you don't have to put it on a credit card and pay those high interest rates anymore. You can pull the money out of your emergency savings account, you can use it, and then you can replenish.
Getting the most out of a tax refund that for many Americans is the biggest single check they'll get this year. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
And when we come back on Donovan Live, the Sesame Street character who can't get enough of Baker Mayfield. And then next, why in the world are there two live alpacas out in our parking lot? Betsy has the answer. And the weather. Hi, Betsy.
Jimmy, this is one of those things that is the perfect way to answer. Why not? That is the news at 7. This is your show. We try and keep it interesting for you. There is some rain that is to the west of us. It will spread across northeast Ohio tonight. That means a soggy start to the day tomorrow. Details straight ahead.
Channel 3 News at 7. Donovan Live is made possible by the Calvetta Brothers Floor Show. It's time to fall in love again with your home.
Welcome back, everybody, and now my career has officially done it all. I am with two alpacas. Here we are as we welcome you back to Donovan Live. I'm with Kim Rossi from Vintage Alpacas in Brooklyn Heights. Did you know out there that Ohio has more farm alpacas than any other state in the country? And I haven't introduced the alpacas. This is Teddy Bear right here. This is El Capitan off to my right, and then they are beautiful.
Well, thank you.
They are beautiful. Why Ohio? What's going on in Ohio? Why do we have such a fetish for alpacas?
We have the perfect climate for them because they're grass eaters, so we can grow good grass here.
What kind of, are they pets? I mean,
no,
they are not pets.
Absolutely not pets. They're considered livestock. So you have to have like a barnyard to have them. They can't be raised indoors because they have a lot of anxiety and they get ulcers very quickly if they're tried to raise them indoors. And there's a little video out on Facebook right now that we should adhere to, that we don't want to buy them as a baby and try to raise them in your house.
Yeah.
Because they're not for the house, they're livestock.
Tell me about their temperament, though, overall. If they're happy and they're eating grass and they're in the hands of the right owners, what temperament?
Their temperament is they're standoffish.
Oh.
Okay, so when you come close to them, they want to stay just an arm's length away. They don't really want to be hugged and loved. They just want to be looked at in the field.
Kim knows you have 100 alpacas of your own, right?
I have 85
You have 85. You have 100 on your farm.
Right, 100 on the farm.
All right. And so people actually will bring them to your farm to board?
Right. If they don't have a farm, they can board them at a farm.
Tell me about this weekend. What's coming up?
This weekend is the Buckeye Show at the Summit County Fairgrounds. And it's one of the most prestigious shows in our country, and it's for breeders from the Midwest. You'll see about 400 alpacas there.
Wow.
From all over, and they will be competing in halter and full fleece, Walking fleece costume. That's an interesting category.
I
so they'll
bet.
put costumes on them.
Yeah.
The kids will have youth competitions.
Oh, my goodness. Now, there's also going to be a lot of vendors there. Now, in their displays, they'll have beautiful alpaca fashions, which we probably all know about. You have that on?
Yes.
Do you have one of them?
This
oh,
is
really?
baby alpaca.
Oh, my goodness.
So you'll be able to buy capes and wraps and gloves and socks, and all kinds of vendors will be there with alpaca stuff.
At what point do you go get, do they get shaved?
They get shaved once a year in the spring.
In the spring?
Right. So we harvest the hair and we sell it to be made into yarns and fabrics.
Now, I see in their transit vehicle here, they have hay, but you say they eat grass.
Yeah, they eat hay and grass.
Hay and grass,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, they also eat some grains, but they're definitely not meat eaters.
How did you get involved? What made you say, hey, listen, I want alpacas, and by the numbers you just gave them, I want a lot of them.
Well, I've had a family farm in Brooklyn Heights for 3 generations, and I wanted to keep it a farm. So when we closed the nursery, I needed something that was woman-friendly and that I thought I'd be interested in doing for a long time. So I got the alpacas.
Now, I have to tell you, Teddy Bear here is, I am just, upon your advice, I just was rubbing her back. Is it her or him?
No, they're him.
Him. I was rubbing his back, and I have to tell you, it is just gorgeous.
It's pretty soft.
It is absolutely beautiful.
Warm. You see how warm he is at the skin?
Yeah, really. Yeah. Okay. How do they survive in the summer with their? Will they get shaved in the spring?
They get shaved in the
How
spring.
quickly then do they start putting on the coat?
Yeah, by September, they should have 2 to 3 inches back.
How about that?
They can't show unless they have 2 inches on them. And we have another Ohio show coming up in the fall too. So we have this spring show, and then we have one in the fall.
Okay, so once again, this is the annual Buckeye Alpaca Show coming up.
Right.
The Summit County Fairgrounds this weekend. Free?
It's free. Parking is free. It's
my
family
goodness.
oriented. And don't forget, they're the only charity alpaca show. All the benefits will go to the Ohio State Veterinary Hospital for camelid, which they are camelids, camelid research and scholarships. And they've donated over $300,000 over the last 15 years.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for introducing us to El Capitan and to Teddy Bear. And for me, I will say we will be right back right after this second time up. Three on three, here's the lineup. Cookie Monster's favorite quarterback, a football league in trouble, and flat earthers set sail. Betsy and Chris Ty join me. I thought I was both going to get you sweaters from our last segment, but they weren't ready.
Just in time for Christmas.
Not ready to be shaved yet.
Thanks for thinking of it.
All right. Okay, and I would have needed sizes. First up, Cookie Monster's favorite quarterback.
Baker Mayfield. Plus, he really turned the Browns into contenders last season.
He
so,
did.
You know.
What? Yeah.
Yes.
Almost
Not
like
only
Dr.
does the
Baker.
Sesame Street character love his name, Baker, because he loves cookies, which are baked, but he also says that he likes how Baker Mayfield turned the Browns into contenders last season. And thus, he is my favorite Sesame Street character right now.
How can he not be anyway?
I love him anyway. I love his voice.
And this edition of Donovan Live brought to you by the number 16, the number of games we hope that they bring to us at the end of the next season.
Isn't that great?
That's great. The voice of the Cookie Monster has really changed from what I remember.
Yeah.
How about the automatic appeal of Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield is, taken off.
He wins with his name. He wins with his charisma. He wins with his on-field ability.
Right.
It's a 3 for 3.
And he wins with his right arm.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Well put. Nice timing on that. The Alliance of American Football, the fledgling Pro Football League, may not survive much longer. It might be over by the end of this week. The league was bailed out early in the season by Tom Dundon, who owns the NHL's Carolina Hurricanes. But now Dundon says the league may fold over the next couple of days. And the reason players, he says he needs the NFL Players Association to allow active NFL team and practice squad players to play in the spring league. The league's business model is based on being a developmental league for the NFL. But the Players Association, they're worried about injuries. I mean, how do you ensure against injuries in a situation like that?
Right. So if this is going to be a feeder thing, this would be almost like minor leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
For the baseball side.
Exactly.
These underleagues never seem to have all their ducks in a row. Doesn't it seem like there's always something that triggers a misfire?
Yeah. Now, you know whose son has really put this whole thing together? Dick Ebersol, the big guy at NBC. His son Charlie is really the brains behind it, along with Bill Polian, the former architect of the Indianapolis Colts and Buffalo Bills. But you know, you can see both sides here. I mean, if a team lends a player, the player gets hurt.
Right.
You know,
why would you risk yourself long term for a short term thing like this?
Yeah. Well, another quick point. Remember now, the NHL used to let its players go over to the Olympics. A couple of those players got hurt in the Olympics and hurt their teams, and thus the NHL, and now they don't do that anymore.
So you try to make an effort to make it a better thing, but you're not going to expose yourself to that.
Especially a bummer for the guys that are on the practice squad that aren't on the full squad.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And they want to play.
They do.
Yeah, they want to play. The Flat Earth International Conference, and that's the major flat Earth conspiracy theorist organization, is putting together a cruise for fellow flat earthers poised to set sail in 2020, bound for Antarctica, what they believe is the edge of the world anyway. One thing, the nautical maps and GPS that guide the ship are all based on the assumption that the Earth is round.
This is when I think the crew, like meaning the captain, the first officer, all those guys, are probably just going to lock themselves on the bridge and not go out because they would probably be bombarded with, are we almost there? Are we almost there? Are we almost there?
How many days could you handle being on a ship with flat earthers?
I would just keep my mouth shut and my eyes open. That would be good people watching.
Now, they are really fervent about this, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember I went to a very progressive high school in Chicago, and there was a Flat Earth Society there at the high school. And everybody was like, flat Earth, but it has its roots. I mean, there are people who really are not rolling their eyes at it, really buy in.
That was in the room right next to Chess Club, I assume.
Yes, that's where I was hanging out.
Here you go. Pip, pip.
All right, time for weather?
I think so.
All right, before we get to it,
Yeah.
okay, very, very important message right here. So before we get to Betsy, we want to give a special thanks to our pal, Chris Ty. Chris, this weekend, will be closing the chapter of his life here at Channel 3.
That's right.
And we want to say thanks for an incredible job here and storytelling. And as talented as you are, I have to tell you, you supersede that by being the most amazing friend.
Oh, well, that's
who
very
I am
kind.
going to miss.
I
mean,
know
I have
you
to tell you.
Yeah.
How do we face these 77 seconds without you? And
Very
I mean
gingerly.
it. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I have been so lucky at a place like KYC Channel 3 that I've been at for a very long time. They've offered me amazing opportunities to do great things, to have so much fun, never more than in this piece of real estate here at about 15, 20 minutes past 7 o'clock, and to have great friends. I mean, you guys have you and I came up together here. You and I have become just the best of friends.
Unbelievable.
And we have become great friends as well, and Paul and your girls. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me in. We're going to have more to share. Coming weeks on social media, I'll be sharing with our next chapter, my wife and I. But thank you for just a great, great run here.
Well, the 77 seconds were always great, but the other 7 hours that we spent talking at each other's desks is really going to be missed.
It was pretty close to that.
Yeah,
it was about 6.5, maybe 7.
Usually you'll see Jimmy kind of hunched over the edge, and you'll hear very low mumbling, and then all of a sudden Jimmy goes, ha, 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 ha. They just crack each other
And they paid us for it. So
really-
we're
there
lucky
you go.
people.
Well,
Chris,
we
the
will
best
miss
of
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks,
We are gonna
guys.
miss them.
Thank you all.
All right, now,
Tears in the forecast, too.
I'm glad you're doing this and not me.
Because you would probably throw in too many jokes and go over on your time. That would probably be where that goes. We have rain showers that are hanging around, especially toward the morning. So not so much now, but there are a few little spits and sprinkles showing up on the radar. We're still hanging out in the 60s, though. Jimmy, I imagine it felt pretty good out there with the alpacas.
It did, yeah.
Nice and toasty. A bit of a southerly breeze continues for us. We do have some rain that is showing up on the radar. Yeah, there's little sprinkles. Heavier showers, Mansfield and south down through Belleville. That's going to continue on toward Loudonville and Ashland, and then eventually over into Millersburg, on up into the Worcester area. So a heads up for you folks on the US 30 corridor. It's headed eastbound and going to be moving into the Canton area too. Big picture shows that's not the end of it. There's another slug of moisture that's going to be coming in. And keep in mind, all of this is lining up on a frontal boundary that's kind of hanging out. It's not going to make its way through here until Saturday. So that really kind of keeps the focus for rain over northern Ohio over the next couple of days. Showers around, temperatures mild tonight, and by the morning you can see that swath of rain that cuts across the area. So we could have some ponding of water on the roadways, maybe add a couple minutes to the commute, so keep that in mind. Temperatures will be varied. Look at the difference in the morning and even into midday. 40 in downtown Cleveland, 50s farther south. This is that boundary I was talking about. It's going to waffle over the area, and our temperatures are going to be really variable from lakeshore to areas farther south. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned, we will have the cold front eventually coming through, and that will happen Saturday night in your Universal Windows Direct forecast. Temperatures are going to be dropping like a rock Saturday afternoon. Ultimately, by Sunday morning, we could have snow on the ground in some locations, but the good news is mostly sunny and 44 for the home opener. Jim?
Here's what's coming up tonight on Channel 3, brought to you by the Nuremberg Paris Injury Lawyers, proudly celebrating 90 years fighting for the injured.
All right, as we wrap it up tonight, from Minneapolis today, the Indians dropped the opening game of the season. 2-0 was the final score. They only got 2 hits in the game. Great job, everybody. 65,000 plus for the APL. That is great. And so long to our great friend, Chris Tide. Entertainment tonight's coming up next. We're all back at 11. See you then. We are.